Inside Antarctica's secret whale war. The ocean around Antarctica has always seemed like another planet, an endless white desert of ice, wind, and mystery. But beneath those frozen waves, a war once raged that almost no one knew about. It wasn't fought with armies or missiles, but with harpoons, submarines, and spy satellites. It was the secret whale war, a decades-long struggle between nations, scientists, and activists over the fate of Earth's largest creatures. In the early 1970s, the Cold War had reached even the world's coldest place. While the United States and the Soviet Union pointed nuclear weapons at each other across continents, they also competed in places few would ever see, like the icy waters of the Southern Ocean. But this battlefield was not about land or ideology, it was about whales. At that time, whales were being hunted to near extinction. Industrial whaling fleets from Japan, Norway, and the USSR scoured the Antarctic for blue whales, humpbacks, and minkies. A single blue whale could yield more than 100 barrels of oil, used in everything from cosmetics to margarine. Officially, most nations had agreed to limit their catch through the International Whaling Commission, IWC, formed in 1946. But secretly, the Soviet Union was falsifying records on a massive scale. Declassified Soviet documents later revealed that from 1948 to 1986, the USSR illegally killed more than 180,000 whales, far more than reported. Soviet whaling ships operated under the guise of scientific research, but were actually part of a covert economic program codenamed Operation Cetus, a secret mission to supply whale oil for military and industrial use. American intelligence agencies began to notice strange movements in the Southern Ocean. Satellite photos from the early 1970s showed enormous processing ships surrounded by what appeared to be submarine escorts. At first, analysts assumed it was a military exercise, but when the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, cross-referenced the data, they realized those ships were Soviet whalers. The submarines weren't protecting them from the U.S. Navy, they were protecting a secret. Meanwhile, in the United States, environmental awareness was exploding. Rachel Carson's Silent Spring had awakened a generation. By 1975, Greenpeace had launched its first anti-whaling campaigns, sending small boats to physically block harpoons in the Pacific. What few realized was that Greenpeace's early intelligence sometimes came not from activists, but from within the U.S. government. A declassified memo from 1977, found in the National Archives, revealed that NOAA shared satellite tracking data of Soviet whaling vessels with environmental groups under an unofficial agreement called ECHO Protocol. The goal? To expose illegal Soviet hunting operations without sparking a diplomatic crisis. The U.S. wanted to win the moral ground in global environmental politics by using activists as proxies in a quiet war for public opinion. That's when things got strange. In 1979, a joint Soviet-Japanese whaling fleet disappeared for 12 days near the Ross Sea. When they reappeared, one of the ships, the Slava IV, was heavily damaged and several crew members were missing. Official reports claimed the ship had collided with an iceberg, but recently uncovered logs suggest something else. According to testimony from a former Soviet navigator, the Slava IV had been shadowed by an unmarked submarine. The crew believed it belonged to the U.S. Navy. One night, sonar operators detected mechanical interference beneath the hull, then heard an explosion. Some historians suspect the Americans may have been testing a new type of underwater acoustic surveillance, part of a classified system known as SOSUS South, designed to track both submarines and whaling fleets. But the war wasn't just between superpowers. It was also between truth and secrecy. In 1981, a young Soviet scientist named Alexei Yablokov, working within the Academy of Sciences, discovered internal reports detailing massive falsifications in whale catch data. He tried to bring the evidence to the United Nations. Within weeks, his research institute was shut down, and Yablokov was reassigned to a remote Arctic outpost. Years later, after the fall of the Soviet Union, Yablokov finally published his findings, revealing the full scale of the deception. The official Soviet whale catch numbers had been reduced by over 60%. Around the same time, the U.S. was also playing its own double game. While publicly condemning whaling, the CIA was funding scientific expeditions to the Antarctic disguised as ecological surveys. These missions, codenamed Project Deep Echo, used acoustic mapping equipment capable of detecting not only whale pods, but also submarine movements. Some historians now believe the U.S. used the global anti-whaling movement as cover for military reconnaissance in the Southern Ocean. Then came the breaking point, Operation Leviathan, 1983. That year, Greenpeace ship Rainbow Warrior 1 entered the Antarctic zone to confront a Japanese whaling fleet. But what they didn't know was that Japan's operations were partly subsidized by the Soviet Union in exchange for technology transfers. When activists launched inflatable boats to block a harpoon ship, a near collision occurred. Radio recordings captured panicked voices in Russian and Japanese. A week later, an unidentified aircraft, possibly a U.S. Navy P-3 Orion, photographed the entire encounter. Those images remain classified. Just 2 years later, in 1985, the Rainbow Warrior was bombed and sunk in New Zealand by French intelligence agents, attempting to stop Greenpeace from protesting nuclear tests. But some believe the real reason was to silence potential leaks about the secret three-way intelligence war happening in Antarctic waters, where whales had become symbols of something much larger: control of the last unclaimed frontier. By the late 1980s, global outrage forced change. In 1986, the International Whaling Commission implemented a worldwide moratorium on commercial whaling. Officially, the killing stopped, but unofficially, the war continued in quieter ways. Through scientific whaling, black market meat trade, and ocean surveillance disguised as research. In 2015, a joint report from Australian and U.S. marine scientists discovered traces of whale DNA in shipments labeled as deep-sea fish in East Asian ports. Satellite tracking still shows suspicious vessels operating under research flags near the Antarctic convergence zone. And yet there's a darker, lesser-known twist. In 2018, leaked NOAA files hinted at something extraordinary. During the height of the Cold War, both U.S. and Soviet acoustic monitoring systems began picking up deep rhythmic sounds in the Southern Ocean. Codenamed the Bloop, these sounds were initially thought to be from massive ice shifts, but several analysts privately speculated they were coming from something biological, something enormous. Whales can produce low-frequency calls, but the Bloop's power was 10 times stronger. Some in the Soviet Navy believed they'd discovered a previously unknown superspecies of whale. The Americans thought it was a secret Soviet sonar weapon. The truth remains uncertain. Today, Antarctica's waters are protected by international treaty, but the echoes of that secret war still drift through the icy depths. The scars of sonar testing remain etched into the hearing systems of whale populations. Even now, scientists studying humpback migration patterns find strange behavioral changes near old Cold War listening posts. It's a haunting legacy, a story of greed, espionage, and survival. Whales, those ancient giants who once ruled the oceans, became both victims and symbols in humanity's struggle for power and conscience. And in the frozen silence of Antarctica, where the winds carry the ghosts of forgotten ships, the question still lingers: who truly won the whale war? Because perhaps, in the end,
No one did. Let me know how you liked today's video by commenting and subscribe to the channel to get the next video. Stay well, stay healthy, and best wishes.